So in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about the narcissistic discard. So, the typical relationship cycle with a narcissist goes from the initial love bombing stage to sometimes a prolonged devaluation stage, and more often than not, the entanglement, the relationship with the narcissist eventually ends, in which case you have the discard. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about what the discard phase is typically like, what goes through the narcissist's mind in the build up to the discard, and what the impact of the discard is meant to have on the target, and how that benefits the narcissist or how that makes the narcissist feel good. So when you're in a relationship with a narcissist, obviously you have the initial stage, which feels very good. They make you feel, they make you feel great. They pump you up a lot, really trying to make you feel like they have a strong connection towards you. Sometimes people refer to the soulmate effect. And oftentimes you're already kind of, thinking of your future together with a narcissist, and in the back of your mind, or at the forefront of your mind rather, you're already thinking of plans, and you often think that it's got long-term potential. So during the love bombing stage, the narcissist feeds you with a lot of false hope. So you kind of build that imaginary future with the narcissist, and of course that's followed by the the devaluation stage, where the narcissist they started playing this push-pull tactic where, one moment they think very highly of you, and then another moment they're saying or doing things to really chip away at your kind of personal integrity, your sense of well-being, your self-esteem, your your confidence. They, during this devaluation stage, for some period of time, they're constantly throwing jabs at you in one way or another. More often than not, these jabs are somewhat discreet, somewhat covert, but they have the intended impact on you, which is kind of to take your mood down, to depress the way you feel. And as the narcissist devalues you, time after time again, it gives them a sense of upliftment, a sense of superiority over you, and it gives them narcissistic supply because they're feeling uplifted by putting you down. So just kind of going back, the initial love bombing and then the devaluation, the narcissist gets supply on both of those fronts, because during the love bombing, the idea that they're hooking you in, the idea that they are causing you to fall for them, that gives the narcissist lots of supply. Not to mention during the love bombing that, oftentimes the narcissist does actually idealize you during that period. Sometimes they do think there's potential, even though at some level the narcissists know that they know that everything kind of falls apart eventually. They do like to milk that initial kind of idealization phase where they sometimes they're even impressed by you. So just the love bombing generally, they get a lot of supply from that on different fronts. And then during the devaluation phase, they're not really idealizing you as such anymore, but they do want to keep getting supply from you. So because they're not really getting supply from uplifting you and causing you to fall for them and idealizing you like they were in the love bombing, during the devaluation, they only really get supply from you by chipping away at your self-esteem, watching you have these energetic and emotional crashes, and watching you occasionally worry, feel lacking confidence, feeling belittled and stepped on, and sometimes isolated. All those things that the narcissist kind of instills in you, makes you feel during the devaluation. It gives them supply. And over time, I guess from the narcissist perspective, the supply that they get from you becomes more and more stale, So they don't really get supply from what you have to offer anymore, for a few reasons. First of all, maybe they find you more boring than they did at the beginning. You're not quite the excitement that they initially thought, or maybe you're not living up to the impossible standards that they set for you. For whatever reason, they're not getting so much supply on that front from you. And also, because they've been chipping away at your kind of well-being for some time, you're chronically feeling a bit down. So your energies are low, and you're not able to supply the narcissist because your energies are low, and there's not much there to give. You don't even have enough energy and well-being for yourself. After you've been devalued for some time, how are you going to have those things to give to the narcissist? It's just not really there. So as the devaluation stage goes on, the narcissist finds that there's less and less supply to be taken from you. And then they reach the point, and this is where kind of you start approaching the discard. They reach a point where it's just, you're seen as boring, they've managed to put you down, and you have very little to offer them. And sometimes they'll stick around when you have very little to offer, and they'll kind of use you for what they can, sometimes favors. They'll continue to put you down more, which makes them feel good. But during the devaluation phase, the supply they're getting from you is really limited. So this is where the discard starts coming into the planning. And the narcissist, they don't just want to discard you to move on. I mean, obviously they typically discard when they have a replacement person lined up to kind of start the new cycle in somebody else. But the discard is not just about going to the replacement supply or walking away from you because you're boring in their eyes or because you're feeling down. The discard itself is meant to give the narcissist lots of supply. In other words, the narcissist wants to inflict as much mental and psychological damage on you, emotional damage on you in the discard as they possibly can, because they want to get a lot of supply out of the discard. Because chances are they've been seeing you as quite stale in supply anyway for some time, so the discard itself is meant to kind of give them a nice boost. But not only is the discard meant to give them a nice boost, but also the discard is meant to be oftentimes so abrupt, so unexpected, so severe in the way they deliver the discard, that it's meant to have an ongoing impact on you for some time to come. So when the narcissist, they discard you and walk away, they don't just want you to forget about them in a week or two or a few days or even a month or two. They want to know and be able to feel confident that you will have them on your mind for some time to come, for a long time to come. In a perfect world, they would want you to obsess over them forever, wondering why did the narcissist discard me? How could they so easily walk away? How could somebody who was so loving at the beginning be so brutal towards the end and indifferent in the middle, during the deval? So the discard itself is meant to give the narcissist a big boost in the delivery of it, which is meant to be very devastating. But they want to reap an ongoing sense of supply from the fact that you are just feeling down, feeling confused, obsessing over them, them living rent-free in your mind for a long time. And knowing that they are on your mind gives them supply. So that's something that the narcissist thinks about during the discard. When the moment's right, it's not just about walking away from you. It's not even just about causing you harm in the discard itself. It's about inflicting a heavy dose of damage on the discard itself, and to create an ongoing, almost obsession in your mind of the narcissist. They kind of want you to be obsessed with them. They want you to want answers from them that they will never give you, and they can never give you. Lots of unanswered questions in your mind about things the narcissist said and did during the relationship. So when the narcissist discards somebody who wasn't aware who they were, and they deliver it in a way that from their perspective is good timing, good series of events leading up to it, they know that you will be thinking about them, hurting and thinking about them for a long time, wanting answers, in a state of confusion, trying to work things out, process things. And the fact that you struggle to process things that they've done is something that they really enjoy. So yeah, then the discard has a few purposes. It all links back to supply. but different types of supply. And they like to know that the supply keeps coming in for a long time to come after they've gone.